is you. You and your team are the human firewall that protects your organization from attacks, scams, and breaches. If you spend money on one security effort this year, consider investing in your people. At 7 Minute Security, we're excited to offer Light Pen Test Light. That stands for Live Interactive Training Experience. This 3-day remote course is a 100% hands-on, instructor-led program that introduces you to a virtual company we call Pwntown. Then you put on your black hat, and together we will scan, attack, and eventually completely compromise Pwntown's Active Directory environment. This is not a webinar or a lecture. This is real hands-to-keyboard experience led by our experts at 7 Minute Security. Whether you're a blue teamer, a developer, or even a hobbyist who wants to build some pen testing chops, this course identifies the vulnerabilities we see over and over on our assessments and gives you scenario-based experience to find them and exploit them. Each day is a 3.5-hour session. On day 1, we give you a tour of Pwntown and work through a bag of tricks that hackers use to find easy wins on your network. We'll explore a nickel tour of Active Directory and why it is so ripe for abuse, curb roasting and ASREP roasting attacks, how to crack password hashes, and how to break through a network's first defenses to become a local system administrator. On day 2, it's time to up the ante. We will learn how to snipe passwords with the MS14025 vulnerability, enumerate Active Directory attack paths, abuse network protocols, and exploit group policy objects that have weak passwords and misconfigurations. On day 3, we'll bring it all home by dumping domain credentials, setting credential traps for unsuspecting users, scraping system passwords, and impersonating members of the domain admins group. Light Pen Test Light is more than instruction, it's also a classroom community. At the end of each session, you're free to practice what you've learned in the lab and chat with other students about their approaches and backgrounds. Our sandbox approach to security training doesn't require a heavy lift from your on-site IT or security team. Everything's done remotely and at a price that's affordable for small and medium-sized businesses. Want to learn more? Head over to 7minsec.com/training to find out when the next session starts, pricing information, and much more. You know security is hard, so let's assume we're probably gonna get pwned by noon. But if we all start to get the basics right, we might not fully get pwned until tonight. Well, hey, friends, how are you doing? Welcome to the 7 Minute Security podcast / live stream. I'm Brian, and I think audio is working, but I'm so paranoid after screwing it up a couple weeks in a row. Oh, loop, echo. I'm hearing myself. Okay, good. Mics aren't muted. Camera's on. Screens are shared. Totally figured out right now how to use technology. But, well, we're going to talk today about annoying attackers with ADHD, part 2, which caused a little bit of, I think, tongue-in-cheek confusion last week. I was mentioning to you that I got a few notes where people are like, dude, you're going to get canceled. You're doing a webinar about annoying attackers who are diagnosed with ADHD. No, that's not it. That's not the ADHD we're talking about. We're talking about, oh, shoot. And of course, I never remember the acronym off the top of my head. We're talking about the Active Defense Harbinger Distribution from our friends over at Black Hills Information Security. This is a virtual machine / distribution of tools that are meant to annoy and or attribute and or attack people and scripts and bots and things that are being snoopy in your, well, I suppose in your internal network, but I think this is, I see where this being a good fit is for putting some of these ADHD tools on your perimeter or maybe just up in a DigitalOcean droplet, something like that, and being able to learn more about people who are snooping around your external network properties. So if you missed part one, that was last week, where really we just showed you how to load up this VM, and we went through some tools. I wanted to continue that because there's a lot of tools to showcase, and I mentioned, I think, that the sort of reason this got on my radar again is I have a customer who wants to get more into honeypots, canaries, set some traps for upcoming internal and external pen testers and the like. So it's been a good excuse for me to, revisit this distribution, which is getting a little. I mean, they're on version 4, but it doesn't look like. Let me look here. It doesn't look like it's been actively updated since 1 to 7 years ago. So, but still, I think the tools are awesome, and I just wanted to show you some more of them because I've been preparing them for another client. So specifically, we'll do news and shameless promos, of course, because the smart business people who consult with 7-Minute Security would lash me if I didn't. Then we'll talk about setting up an HTTP tar pit. This one is really fun. An HTTP tar pit being a website that looks and smells like a regular, fully functional site, but when you visit it, it does different things like give you super slow response times, or redirect you to another page that doesn't exist, and then another, or maybe sort of like reverse redirect you to a web port on your own system, just designed to slow down and annoy and anger bots and people who are trying to crawl and map that site. So that one's fun. I want to talk about canary tokens. In the specific case is, and maybe you've heard of these before, we'll get into them, but I want to talk about planting an SMB share canary token that when visited, like if you're on an internal pen test, or you've got an internal pen test going on that you're not paying for and you're not going to get the report for, unfortunately, you could set up an SMB share canary token so that if somebody browses to a given folder, you would get an alert, which I think could be awesome. And I'll show you why. But spoiler alert, I think it would be awesome to have that token and alert get fired when, like on a pen test, if somebody launches a tool to just crawl and enumerate the permissions on all your various shares, that you would know that was happening, and know that somebody is being snoopy in your file system. And then kind of along the same lines as the HTTP tar pit, I want to show you a HTTP spider web, which creates an endless a website with some links on it, and each link goes to another link of links, and that link links to more links, and linkety link. So it becomes the website / app that you will never fully finish crawling because it goes forever. It just makes me giggle. We've already established that I'm a big dumb animal, and it doesn't take me much to get the giggles. But this one in particular, I'm just excited to set up and watch the logs and see how much time people and or bots spend just trying to map an application that is unmappable. So that's what we're doing. And this is especially fun because this is really a departure from what we're normally focusing on. My days are spent primarily on the offensive side of the house, trying to offend networks. By the way, I will just, because we're talking about it, kinda, as it relates to offending networks, here would be my tip of the day that we've definitely covered in the podcast and in Tales of Pentest Ponage. But a couple things I would highly recommend you do if you're a pen tester or blue teamer. If you don't already, run a tool like, let's see, I think Rubius can do it, but Certipy, CERTIPY. Run Certipy to enumerate your organization's Active Directory certificate services configuration. Boy, oh boy, have we just seen all sorts of misconfigured, vulnerable Active Directory certificate services the last few weeks. And if you search for a paper from Spectre Ops called Certified Pre-Owned, that's an excellent resource for both how those ADCS configurations are abused and also how to like prevent those attacks and mitigate some of those configuration issues. That would be my kind of tip of the week for you, as well as and I'll maybe touch on it when we get a little deeper in the presentation. But if you've got inside your environment, if you've got imaging solutions like what is it, whatever it is, Windows deployment services, and some of those where maybe you've got to share somewhere that OS images get pulled down from, and you image new laptops and servers and things with that image. My tip to you would be make sure you check the permissions on those shares, because they are often overshared because presumably only the IT people are in the internal network imaging systems. But with those images sitting out there, you can often go into that folder or break open that image if it's compressed or what have you. And you can view in the C Windows System 32 folder, and then maybe C Windows sysprep, something in there. There's a unattend.xml file that has a base 64 encoded value of the local admin password. So if you don't touch, in other words, if you don't touch anything and you image a new box, that admin password comes along with it. And if you stamp that out on all sorts of endpoints all over the network, and then a bad guy or gal goes to that, finds that image share, uncompresses it, takes a look at that XML file, you can quickly, figure out what the plain text of that base 64 is. And then you might have local admin across the whole darn company. That has happened to us a couple of times these last few weeks. So those are, so much of our, and my personally too, passion is just finding the leaky, low hanging fruit, the easy wins for attackers, easy fixes for you. So just wanted to share that while it was on my mind. Oakley Dokley. So quick shameless self-promotions on 7minsec.com. If you look under projects, there's our podcast with all the shows we've done. And thanks to my pal Hacker Novice, there's little show notes and blurbs and links to jump off and read the full show notes or grab the MP3. So thank you, Hacker Novice. Of course, you're on the live webinar that we do every Thursday, but if you just got here because it was an accident, we try to do this every Thursday and talk about, security stuff. So thanks for joining and hope to see you often. We've got a book, ebook.7minsec.com. That'll charge you $7.77. And it's a lot of this pen testing, low hanging fruit stuff we look for. It's the book form of that. So step by step with screenshots and script snippets, we show you how to do a lot of the work we do. And now it's a GitHub project as well. I mean, you still have to pay for the book, but if you've got a suggestion, if you're like, hey, I'd love to see there be a chapter on Active Directory certificate services, then you can drop that in the issues or the suggestions box, which, by the way, Active Directory certificate services is on its way for version 1.2 or 1.3. But you buy it once. It's never a bad time to buy. We're on version 1.1, and you'll get upgrades for infinity, so you don't have to pay for it ever again. And of course, if you really, really like pen testing, or if you're a defender who wants to get hands-on experience with how pen testers and attackers do their thing, I'd love to have you at my favorite thing in the whole world that I've ever done work-wise, a 3-day class where we remote into a real Active Directory network and we hack the pieces out of it. It's just delightful. And there's still a couple spots in the July, and there's a September class as well. I should add that to the screenshot, but would love to see you there. Okay, let's do it. Let's just do it. Let me give me 1 second. Let me escape that. Let me bring over my desktop here. And as a quick review, everything that we're talking about today is sourced from the ADHD project. I usually find that by just Google searching ADHD, BHIS. There we go. That's kind of the main link for all these tools. And like I said, the main categories are to annoy, attribution, attack. What I talked about last week is like the only thing with some of these is like from what I've spot checked for a handful of these tools is that they're still being actively developed. But the versions on the ADHD distro are, several years old. So some, in fact, I think all of the tools we showed last week, I spun up a vanilla Kali box and kind of showed you step by step how to get them running. But if you let's see if I can get this pulled up. Oh, I guess I'm SSH'd into it. If you just import the VM and just power it up, then pretty much all the tools are like in the web directory or a subdirectory under there. And, it's pretty much push button ready to go. So if you wanted to put that VM up in a DMZ or, some cloud service, you're almost everything is just good to go. The web server is spun up and off you can go to annoy and attack and attribute people. But let's see, the one that I wanted to show you. Oh, so last week let me zoom in a bit. Last week we covered a couple, the names are escaping me, but I know we looked at Cowrie, which is an SSH honeypot and is really fun. It's a good time. So today, let me bring up my list. I wanted to do, the tar pit one first. So this is tar pit. Here we go. PHP and HTTP tar pit. As the description says here, it's a tool designed to confuse and trap misbehaving web spiders or, attackers, right? So it does this task through a combination of log fuzzing and error spoofing. So if you're using the ADHD distro, it's right here. It's good to go. But I'm going to just, because there's not very many steps, I'm just going to show you from this guy, from my Kali box, how you can get that going. So I'll just go to the distro here, and really there is only one file, but we'll just grab that, and we'll do a git clone of that, and we'll save it to just tar pit. Oh shoot, too many things and too many passwords. Is that it? Okay. Thank goodness. Okay, now what I can't remember, maybe somebody can fact check me on this. And hi Tim, hi DF. I think Vanilla Kali is set up with Apache, the Apache web server, not started but installed. If I'm wrong on that, then that wouldn't be the first time I was wrong today. But at least on mine here, I do have a build script that ran on this TT Kali before we got started. But from looking at my script, I don't see that Apache was part of my manual post install. But so you may need to do like an apt-get install Apache 2, something like that. But when I spun this up, everything is pretty much ready to go. In the /var/www/html folder. So there's an index HTML in here already, and anything in this folder will be served up as a web content. So in fact, I think if I go service Apache 2 status, here we go. Okay, so it's disabled, not active at this time. And if I just want to prove that for no reason except to prove it, try to go to the IP. Nope, refuse to connect. But if I just do if I just start the service with a little Apache 2 start, and then I do a status check now. Okay, now it is running. So if I refresh, there we go. I get just this default Apache 2, or what is it, index HTML. Okay, that's annoying. That's annoying. Big wings. Okay, so that's this content, or maybe it's the other one. But it's serving up the default. Is it that one? This page, everything's working. But point is, the web server part is good to go. Now, what I want to do is I want to serve up my tarpit file instead of one of these files. So what I'm going to do, actually, because I don't care about these at all, I'm just going to do a remove all. I've got an empty folder here of web content. So now we're just we're dead, right? Our default pages are missing. And I know enough about Apache to not remember all the little config nuances, but I believe it to be true that Apache will look for, like when someone just visits yourfakehoneypot.com, and if it's configured like this, I think Apache is going to look for an index.html or an index.php. And I think you can configure, like, what are the default files it's going to look for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that tarpit file that's actually called La Brea. I think, is that, not that it matters, but is La Brea, is that like a location with tarpits? Is that what that means? Might learn a bit of history today too. Yes. Excavation site in the city of LA. Okay, La Brea tarpits. Okay, interesting. Or maybe not. But anyway, I guess that's where La Brea comes from. So let's move it here, this root web folder, and just call it index.php. Okay, so we moved it from the tarpit folder to the root of the web content. Now I don't know. Let's do a restart or refresh. Okay, actually, I think it is working. So we're getting the swirly whirlies, right? Page isn't working. Oh, error 500. Okay, well, look at, I don't know that we can really fully appreciate what's happening until we look at it command line style. But from the GitHub repo here, look at all these fun things that this one page is doing as far as defensive techniques. So, and based on what I see, it like changes up what it does with each request, just kind of at random. So it can do something where it returns 200 for every request it gets, which will increase amount of false positives and scanner results. Ninja mode and return 404 for all requests. That increases the amount of negatives in scanner results. It can, return all sorts of status codes, which generates long wait times and wastes time. Or I like, let's see, is it this one? Chained redirection. Oh, sometimes ends in bounce back redirection, which redirects the request back to the requesting IP on common ports. So they could hit this tarpit on, at tarpit.com, but after it sits and spins for a while, it could redirect to 127.0.0.1:8080. Just, you know what I mean? It's just annoying. So let me just see. I'll refresh one more time and see if I get anything. Okay, so this time I got a 404 not found. Let me actually bring up. Let me bring up the so the ADHD box is a different system, but I just want to use like curl or something here, just so we can see. I'm going to call up this website. So 10.0.77, that's our tarpit. All right, so we'll say enter. Okay, so now it gets a code 100. Which, what is code? I don't know my HTTP codes by heart. 100. The 100 continuous status code means the initial part of the request has been received by the server, and that the client should proceed with the request or ignore the response if the request has already finished. Okay, and then it got an empty reply. All right, let's run it again. This time we get a code 101 for switching protocols. All right, let's try one more time. Oh, and this was kind of fun. This time we just got, kibleh for content. just a bunch of nonsense. So it's kind of a web it's kind of a web box of chocolates. You just never know what somebody's going to get. Okay, switching protocols again. The other one I've seen, I don't remember what HTTP code it is, but it goes through. Okay, this time we got a 500. It goes through a code that I think says, okay, now I'm going to redirect, and then it goes through that about 4 or 5 times. So all this just time and processing and logging or whatever is just tied up in useless exploration of the site. Okay, I'm not able to get it to go, but yeah, that's it. And then you can, of course, look at the logs, and you can, start to grep out and figure out, like, is this just a regular web crawler from Google, something like that, or is this someone who's, might be able to figure out, who's snooping around. And, certainly I understand it's not a silver bullet, and that there's VPNs and proxies and all this kind of stuff, but still, I think it could produce some interesting, some interesting data points. I still think it's the case that there's plenty of people being snoopy on networks that aren't good at OPSEC and just, use their home IP, or they're a pen testing company, and they're going full red team, but yet they just do the enumeration from their offices that you can look up with rn.net. So again, it's not like this is heavy, super detective kind of stuff. But, and actually, I think in the case of this tool specifically, they say, like, I think this one was more designed to waste bot scanner time. So it's not so much of like a, network forensic or OSINT kind of tool. But I noticed there was one comment here. Oh, yeah, this punishes bad web crawlers for not respecting the robots.txt file. I'm looking at you, Baidu. And I think, too, in the ADHD page for this tool, their recommendation was, put a link to this somewhere in, off of your, don't link to it directly on your homepage, but put it as, like they say here, put it as a hidden link on your www.com, right? I could imagine maybe you just go make an attractive subdomain that goes off to a DigitalOcean droplet where this tar pit is waiting, and see who you get to fall into it. Okay, let me see if any see if any questions have come through. So a question came up about would you ever run something like this on an internal network? Yeah, okay, so I haven't. I guess I can't speak to if other blue teamers are doing this, but I feel like, kind of like with canaries that we'll talk about in a moment, if you could have this listening on some high number IP on the network. Well, it doesn't even have to be high number IP, but just if you had this somewhere sitting on a Raspberry Pi or just a VM that really nobody should come across unless they were doing something like Witness Me or whatever, right? And doing a broad HTTP connection across all the IPs in your environment. And then you had, you got an alert based on if there was ever a hit in the log file. I don't think it's a bad idea. Someone who's just doing that general fingerprinting of the information may never come back and prod this more and fall into your trap and get stuck. Because I think after a couple clicks, you'd realize, like, there's nothing going on here. And also, I think, I'm just trying to think from my point of view, if I ran something like Witness Me, right, that goes out, connects on port 80, 443, 8080, 8000 and all that, and if I saw in my results that there was just a web hit, my screenshot, though, would probably just be blank, or it would be that garbage text. And I guess since I'm familiar with this tar pit, I would be like, okay, that's a trap. Don't touch it. But I'm looking more for, I want to see the screenshots of, I want to see screenshots of your vCenter, and I want to see screenshots of your ILO, IPMI cards. And those are the things I'm probably going to prod at more. So again, I've not done it on an internal network, but doesn't mean you couldn't. All All right, cool. So that's that one. What else was I going to show you kind of in the same vein? Oh, I know. Let me go back one. I was going to show you spider trap. Is that what it's called? Spider trap. Here we go. Spider trap, I think, is a little bit more fun in that it traps web crawlers and spiders in an infinite set of dynamically generated pages. So let me go to spider trap here. Now this one runs its own little self-contained Python-based web server. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to go to our Kali box. I'm going to do a shut down Apache. So stop. Okay, and then I'm going to get this code downloaded here. Spider trap. Okay, and then spider trap, and then yeah, everything's all within here. So I've not played too much with the config. The only thing that I did is I noticed by default spider trap will listen on port 8000, and that's really no big deal because if you were going to put this on some sort of droplet or something like that, you could easily do the port forward or NAT thing and say take port 80, forward it internally to port 8000. That's fine. But since we're right here, I'm just going to make it listen on 80. And then that's it. I don't want to tinker with too much else because I just haven't yet. Okay. And then all I got to do is, if you didn't know already, you can, and this is really handy on a pen test. You can do something like this: HTTP server, spin up on port 80, and that creates, a little temporary website of your, in this case, Kali box. But you want to be careful with this because it serves the content that is in this folder and deeper. So you wouldn't want to run this while you're, you wouldn't want to do something like this. Okay, because then if someone did come along to that, you know what I mean? It's like this is everything. It's just a browsable, downloadable explorer of your hard drive. Okay, but we can well, actually, I don't even think we call the HTTP server for this. I think it's just this Python 3 spider trap. You just run it by itself. There we go. So it's all right there. It's listening on port 80 now, and then also any hits we get are going to come right to the live console. One thing I noticed about this one is it does seem, oh no, actually it went pretty quick. It seemed to me it took maybe 10, 15 seconds to like get up and running. But yeah, it was quick that time. So yeah, so here we go. If you were to hit this, or a crawler were to hit this, and you can, again, I didn't dig into it much, but you could customize this. You could make this look a little bit more human tempting. But you click a link and you get another page of dynamically created links. And you click another one and you get another one. And you click this one and you get new stuff. And that one, new stuff. This one, new stuff. And you could keep a bot, or I guess a bored person, entertained for seconds, multiple seconds. But you know what I mean? You will never get to the end of this. So if somebody was crawling you with burp or something like that, eventually I guess they'd eat up their hard drives and it would kill their burp. But I like that. It's just simple. It's kind of evil. And then right here, presumably you'd be able to do some grepping and massaging of this log just to figure out, who's poking at this and how much time are they actually spending. I think that would I would imagine that would help you parse out what's a bot and what is truly, something human generated. Okay, so that one again is spider trap. And it seems like that is built right by the folks who actually make ADHD Project. So neat. Let's see. Oh, canary tokens. I wanted to talk about those briefly. I really want to do like a probably a session just on these. But thanks to canaries, I know some of you that I've done pen testing for, you have these. They have commercial versions of these. I'm not sure what I don't know if they have pricing on these, but they have. Oh, here, there they are. And they're not. Let's see. Okay, so for $7,500, you get 5 canaries, and you put them in your network, and they're set to look like real, living, breathing, functioning servers and services. But if somebody interacts with them, it can give the blue team alerts that things are coming. So that's their commercial offering. But if you just go to canarytokens.org and hit generate, or maybe that's where it lands you. I just go here to canary tokens. Oh yeah, it does. There's all these different tokens you can generate and get emails from for free. So the one that I am going to try with the customer that wants to plant some of these external traps, I am going to try this one with them, the Windows folder. So the idea with this one, and actually, let me escape out of here. I'm not going to step through the whole thing. I have some screenshots I'll share with you, but type in your email address, type in a reminder of what this is for. Let me actually switch to my PowerPoint. I'll show you what I have. So for example, if my internal network was 7min.sec, and I'm going to put this token on file server 01. When I get an alert, this comment will come along with it. So that would give me an indication of, oh, what trap did somebody trip on? So you fill out just that basic information, click create my canary token, and then they give you a zip file to download. And I am sure the instructions would be clear if I was a kind of person who read instructions, but I didn't actually get it right away because when you unzip, well, let me go here really quick. When you unzip the zip file, if you just unzip it into a folder like this, super secret, nothing is there. And I was like, okay, what's wrong? Is my Windows Explorer zip unzipper not working? What's the deal? But if you look at the same folder in a command prompt and do a dir space /AH, I think that's for, I don't know, attribute of hidden, something like that, you will see there's a desktop.ini file. Okay, that's hidden by default. So, and then this is what it looks like. So whoops, I got a happy clicky mouse going on. So it's got a SMB, like a UNC path loaded in it to a unique host for your canary token. This is something we've talked about on the pen test, Tales of Pen Test Pwnage, that's really effective. And that is, there are some file extensions, .lnk and what is it? Not OCF. Is it OCF? I'll look it up or email me if you want more details, because we've talked about it a few times. But the idea is you put those on, for example, this is a share drive off of a 7min.sec server. And even if you come across this and browse this folder in Windows Explorer, it still reads and processes certain types of files. So what we do on a pen test is we make this be // our Kali IP, 10.0.7.7. So just by people, going in and out of shares and copying things and, just browsing to that folder, what that causes is an SMB call to our attacking system. And if we're running something like Responder, we can capture that hash and or pass it. But in this case, what it's doing is like a DNS call to, unique hostname.canarytokens.com. And then what happens is you would get an alert that looks like this. Now, this is something I just noticed right before we started recording that I guess I'm kind of mixed about. Is note in the alert here, it says a DNS canary token has been triggered by source IP, blah, blah, blah. Please note that the source IP refers to a DNS server rather than the host that triggered the token. And I mean, I guess that makes sense. But in my mind, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, we'll be able to see in the alert what internal IP this request came from. But no, it makes sense that that's not what it is. But anyway, if you're like me, maybe it just took you a minute to wrap your head around it. So you would see, probably whatever, if this was triggered internally, you'd see the DNS server of like whatever your ISP is configured for, or the DHCP lease is configured for. But still, I think it's a good warning shot. Like, that's a big thing we talk about in a lot of our work is like, let's not try to defend so much against secrets dump detection in the environment. Let's work on like the 40 things leading up to someone getting to the point of being able to do secrets dump. And let's have all over the place what kind of things they're doing and where they're, where they are on the network. So what I have not tested this yet, but I want to drop that INI file in some share on an internal network that normally nobody would go to, so just, if you have some, if you have some file share out there, and maybe it's a shared drive, it's an S drive, create like another share on that same box that's just called, whatever, _archive, or, something that nobody would find, no employee would normally find. But if somebody runs a tool like Power Hunt Shares, or one of any other dozen tools that will connect to all domain join systems, check if they have SMB open, and then crawl all their shares. I want to put a canary token in one of those for a client, and then, during the pen test, do that share enumeration, and then see if they did, get an alert that I was, kind of kicking things around in their environment. Yeah, so that's, I think, all I wanted to say about the canaries. Let me see, what do we got for time? Oh, let me show you one more then, if you don't mind. Let me go back into my VM here. Let's get that open. Okay, the last one I wanted to share with you was, which one was that again? I bookmarked it. Oh, Web Labyrinth. So that's, again, right off the main tools repo here. Lab. Here's one word I'll never be able to spell right the first time. Web Labyrinth. So this is one, if I go to example usage. Okay, so this one's kind of like the spider, what is that? Whatever that one was called, spider web? Spider trap? Kind of like spider trap, except what it does is it serves up a page of content that's an excerpt from Alice in Wonderland, and as well as some links to random things. And each time you refresh the page, you get different content. Now, this is one where, let me look at the tool page. I don't think this one has been updated for a long time. But when I was playing with this, I know it has to be it has to be a problem between my hands and the keyboard, but I couldn't get my Kali to fire this off correctly and work. So I did, just for this one in particular, I'm just going to go, I'm going to browse right to the ADHD distribution. So they created a subdirectory called Labyrinth, I think. There we go. Labyrinth, and they served the content there. So, and again, this is, I haven't touched the ADHD distribution. All I've done is boot it, and it is ready to go. So if I go to, let me see, what is its IP? I think it's 10.0.7.177/labyrinth. Okay. Lab labyrinth, right? Oh, it's right there. Yeah, labyrinth. Okay, and then yeah, here we go. Here's a little excerpt from Alice in Wonderland, and the links go to. Oh, okay. So the links go to another page, but I believe what happens is, yeah, no matter what you click and go to, oh goodness, yeah, you're gonna get stuck forever, forever and ever and ever and ever. What is that from? Oh, that's from You'll Be Back. That's a song from Hamilton. But I think it is the case. If I do literally anything here, I get Alice in Wonderland content. So labyrinth slash admin.php, right? The typical kind of fuzzing that pen testers and attackers and bots do. Let me look for the administrator URL. Let me look for backups. Whatever you give it, you get stuck in the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole. And oh, okay, starting. Oh, and I guess there's some. Well, that was weird. That was an email address, wasn't it? Was it after? Oh, and it'll go to at example.com. Yeah, that's just really good, clean, annoying fun, I think. Yeah. So check it out and let me know, please, if you I'm trying to gather more information for just to share with my customers about people who are using these tokens and traps in their internal or external network. We work with a ton of SMBs, and I don't know about what how you feel, but in my mind, like I'd love some of this stuff to be part of any internal or external network, but the reality is, at least with a lot of our customers, they've got a small, lean IT and security team, or it's fully outsourced, and that fully outsourced group is like busy patching stuff and putting secure group policies out there and system hardening and all that, right? And so setting up some of this honeypot and canary tokens and traps is a little lower on their list, but I see such value in it, just to learn about internal and external attackers. So, I've heard anecdotally from some of you, but would like more data points if you have any to share. Like, hey, we did the things to canaries and caught a attack before it escalated to domain admin compromise, or put some of this stuff in place and a pen test went off, and boy, we saw 6 or 7 alerts that we knew right where their pen testing box was, and in an emergency we would have been able to pull that box off the network and save ourselves from a more serious situation. If you know of any of that kind of anecdotal stuff, I would love to hear it. And I think that's all I got. Let me just see. I got a few different places that questions are coming in. Let me see. Oh yeah, someone asked exactly the thing that I just said, which is this is something I know. I guess within the last few weeks, this is the first time that like an official engagement with a customer has led to them wanting some of this stuff installed. So I will report back anonymously as far as what I learn and interesting things I take away. But I don't have any other anecdotal stories to share about, the value in something like this. But, outside of commercial things to canaries, hopefully this webinar and last week would at least show to you that you don't need to, you could get started in this and at least get some value without having to invest in anything but some of your time. And especially with the ADHD distro ready to go out of the box, you barely would need to put any of your time into it either, because most of these things are just good to go. I might even, we got our light pen test light class. I've got a separate like hosted vCenter for that. And I've got a bunch of public IPs and plenty of horsepower. I might just throw some of this out there and just see what kind of backscatter garbage from the internet I pick up as a result, and I'll report back. So yeah, and then hello, the gentleman. And yeah, DF and Tim and friends, great to see you. Great to hang out with you. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me and 7MS. There's the links to all the stuff. If you're in the market for risk assessments, pen testing, training. Oh, let me. Can I just do one last tiny shameless self promotion? Let me go ahead and go to. Where are we going here? Let me go to training.7minsec.com. So we've got we got the Light Pen Test Light ebook, right? We've also got for companies who are looking to give their employees a security awareness training session that's a little more fun, a little more lighthearted. We've got our 7 ways to not get hacked presentation chopped up into chunks, and it has some quizzes and a certificate of completion and that kind of stuff. I put it out there for the nice price of $17.77, but bulk pricing is available. So what would happen is if your company wanted this for their employees, or you wanted this to be your yearly, have everybody take training and sign off on it thing, contact me. Basically what I can do is then just, we agree on a price. I send you a list of vouchers. You email those out to your employees, and they can just enroll, take the training, and then get their certificate of completion and, forward it to you, the boss, or whatever. So excited about that. Just got that up a couple of days ago. Some clients were asking for that. So there we go. We're slowly, look at that. We got 2 things on our portal. And then of course we have our pen test class that's you can read more about at 7minsec.com/training. All right. That's it. Sales page over. I just threw up in my own mouth because I hate selling stuff. God bless you. And Atticus says thanks. And if that Atticus is the Atticus that I know, that's my son who's in school right now and should definitely not be watching Dad on YouTube. But if that's you, buddy, I love you. Have a great last day of school. Everybody else have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope to see you next week. Okay? All right. Take care. Bye-bye. You've been watching or listening to 7 Minute Security, a weekly podcast focused on pen testing, blue teaming, and building a career in security. For more episodes like this, visit 7ms.us. And for information about our consulting services, visit 7minsec.com.